Bordello scene and how it was not made for NBC, but that scene was seen after Elvis's passing because it was at the time, too sexy for TV, too risque for TV.
But let me tell you what happened on that. I heard a rumor that I was going to quit the show if they didn't leave the Bordello in. And there were rumors spreading around. It was totally untrue. Never once in my mind did I ever give any thought of leaving the show at any time, no matter what was going on. But what happened is I brought the sponsors, NBC executives, the whole cast in the Bordello sequence. I brought them all on stage and I said, look, there's a rumor that this is not going to make air and get in the show. And I want to now hear all your negatives, all your problems you have with the Bordello scene. And we're going to fix them right here, right now on stage. The first thing that was commented is the cleavage on the ladies' bosoms was too exposed. So I had the costume, Bill Ballou and his staff come up with black netting, and right as we're all standing there, they are sewing up the girls and putting black netting to cover up the cleavage. I say, okay, what else is objectionable? And they would throw out one or two comments. And I did everything and anything that they asked. And I said, okay, is there any other problem that anybody here has? And none of them said anything. And I said, so I want your word that there's going to be no more discussion. The Bordello's in the show, and all of your objections have been addressed and taken care of. And they all said yes. So I forgot about it. And next thing I know, after I edited the master and turned it in, I heard that the sponsors had objected to the Bordello scene, even though these guys had their own kind of room off stage with booze in it and so forth, and were having a ball while we're taping the Elvis thing. All of a sudden they got conservative and were breaking their word. And so I went to Finkel and Sarnoff and the rest of the executives, and I said, I've already got everybody signing off. I changed everything that they wanted, that they objected to. There's nothing in this that is obscene, and it has to remain in the special. And the answer I got was, well, our NBC is now bought. GE bought NBC in that year, and General Electric, according to the television executives, insisted that they send an executive from the East Coast out, and he'll make the final decision, which I objected to because I thought it was already a dead issue and it was resolved. So I go downstairs to the editing room when the guy arrives, and he's wearing obviously a brown suit and brown shoes. And he's at another editing machine, and he's watching an excerpt from the Dean Martin show. And Dean and Phil Harris, who was a regular on a lot of his shows, they're doing a sketch with this 6-foot+ blonde bombshell in a bikini. And it's based basically on what I would call a dirty joke where you leave the punchline out. So nobody knows that you're not saying anything that you can't say on the air, on television. And he's laughing his head off. And I'm saying, hey, our thing is a piece of cake. Because, there's nothing in ours that is objectionable as seeing a beautiful woman in a bikini and surrounded by two lechers, and he comes over to our tape machine, and I tell him to roll the Bordello sequence. He looks at it and immediately, no, we can't let this in the show. This is obscene. This is terrible, etc. And they take it out of the show. Well, the irony is I edited on my own a 90-minute version so I could get a lot of the improv in. And I went to Singer, the sponsor, and I went to NBC, and I said, guys, this is a 90-minute show, not a 60-minute show. In those days, a 60-minute show was about 40-some minutes of entertainment. The rest was filled with commercials and public service and what have you. And I said, we need to extend this show to 90 minutes. And they turned me down. I begged. I did anything and everything I could possibly do as an individual. And I lost the battle, and they took it out of the first show.
Wow.
Well, when Elvis passed, NBC made the decision to air a 3-hour tribute to Elvis. They sent a gopher down to the tape machine rooms and get the master from the Elvis show. And whoever they sent had no understanding or background or memory of anything that happened in 1968. They run downstairs and they see this tape, 2-inch videotape, and it says mastered. So he grabs it and he runs upstairs and he gives it to people who had no clue, of the past. And all of a sudden, what airs on that night with Ann Margaret hosting is the 90-minute special that I never gave them because they turned it down. I had no clue they even kept the copy. And ever since then, you've never seen the 60-minute. You've only seen the 90-minute with the Bordello in it, and etc.
That's right.
That was just a stroke of luck.
Welcome back to Artist on Record. Here's a clip of my conversation with director of the 68 Elvis Comeback Special, Mr. Steve Binder.
We've got this Bindle fellow, #1 hotshot director. Elvis will be humoring him by doing a few of his fresh ideas. The sweater! To Mr. But we are going to start with Here Comes Santa Claus. Isn't that right, Mr. Binder?
The Christmas specials come later in the show. Can you bring up 2?
Oh, baby,
It's funny because here you got the Colonel wanting to do this Elvis, turning Elvis into Perry Como, and then you got Elvis over there with the Bordello scene. It was was the Colonel against the Bordello, that whole footage, that whole scene? Was he like...
The truth of the matter is, I never saw the Colonel hardly ever while I was making the special. And I never, unfortunately, while he was alive, really told Bob Finkel how much I respected him as my executive producer. Especially his daughter in the special says, Bob was at the prime of his career himself. At the time we did Elvis, he was also producing the Jerry Lewis series, Phyllis Diller series for NBC. But he never, ever came to me on any creative level and talked about the content of the show. His job from beginning to end was keeping the Colonel out of my hair while I was working with Elvis. And they entertained each other by playing liar's poker. They played all kinds of silly games that Bob intentionally let the Colonel win. Colonel ends up giving Bob, this is a true story, he ends up giving Bob a case of Dom Perignon champagne. And Bob was very impressed with it, and he thanked him. He happened to be having a dinner party at his home that week, and he pulls out a bottle of this expensive champagne. The Colonel had changed every bottle from champagne bottle with Gatorade. And Bob had his important dinner party with all these executives, ends up, serving Gatorade to his guests. Typical Colonel Parker.
all we have time for today, kids. But in the meantime, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. We'll be releasing more episodes of my conversation with Steve Binder. In the meantime, you can catch Reinventing Elvis, the 68 comeback. Links will be in the description down below. And if you want to catch this interview right now, unedited, join our All Access membership club right here on Artist on Record. Until then, everybody, it's only rock and roll. And remember, who loves you, baby? We do. Thanks for being here. We'll catch you all later. Mwah.